Oceanscape, California, a town where when you're not a surfer or a skater, you're lying. Regina Swan and Jane Jean were two inseparable high school freshmen. Jane was at the top of her literature class and Regina was the star of Spanish. Both had an incredible way with words. Poetry was the thing that brought them together one summer. They connected at the local poetry club and worked together on a piece that won first place in the state competition. Silas Von Hunt, the English teacher of their high school, was the host of that poetry club. After that, they were always with each other. Regina and Jane were the best friends from every Hollywood teen movie. Their friendship was something to be sought after. Then, on March 26th, 2015, they went missing. These were only two of the many disappearances that occurred in Oceanscape, but they were the first to have evidence prompting an investigation. The investigation eventually led to the arrest of Silas Von Hunt, their English teacher. He was put on trial and found guilty of homicide. However, after being put on death row, new information regarding his mental health surfaced, reopening the case 6 years after his conviction. The news concerning his mental state has brought up controversy over whether Von Hunt was wrongfully convicted due to human error. In the first case, Von Hunt was declared guilty after confessing to the murders of Regina Swan, Jane Jean, and multiple others. The evidence? A collection of haikus hidden in Silas's desk, each describing a location where one of his victims lay. Regina's corpse was discovered in the forest one day, long before Von Hunt was ever suspected.
Her head was propped up against a redwood tree. It looked like she was intentionally placed there with her right hand over her left hand on her stomach. Regina had a garrote mark across her neck.
Soon after, Jane's body was found washed up on a small beach, waterlogged and with the same scar around her neck.
A garrote is a weapon that can be made with wire, fishing line, or rope. It is not a common weapon nowadays, so we were surprised to see the distinct markings.
Although everybody was shaken by these disturbing murders, the authorities were unable to find anybody to accuse with substantial reason for homicide. The case soon went cold, and the families of the girls were desperate for closure. Then, Jonah Clark, a senior from Regina and Jane's high school, made a discovery.
How did you end up getting involved in all this?
Well, at the time I was working as Silas's English TA. And it was late one night when I was grading some papers, and when I was all done I went over to Silas's desk to place them there. But I did notice a false bottom in the desk. Now curiosity got the best of me, I looked inside, and I found various haikus. At the time, they just seemed like really good poetry, but I saw correlations further on because of these news articles of missing girls, and I got very suspicious.
When Jonah went to the police, claiming he had new evidence for the cases of the dead and missing girls, they were hesitant to accept the haikus as legitimate proof.
When the case was first brought to me, I wasn't sure how well our evidence would hold up in court, seeing as how it was based off some pieces of poetry. However, after the connection was made between Silas Von Hunt and the murderers, the police began to pull up some more evidence that pointed towards him.
Every haiku found in the desk was written by Silas himself and correlated with a girl who had gone missing in the past. Background research on the girls found that they were all exemplary poets who would receive praise from Von Hunt.
He confessed in the first trial, right? In the first trial, we really tried to push hard on that mentally ill, but regrettably, the doctor gave a testimony which said that he was not mentally ill.
It was relatively easy getting Von Hunt convicted after the medical report came back showing no signs of mental illness. I was confident that he would be sentenced to death as the family had wished.
The guilty Silas was in fact sentenced to death. However, recent incidents have shown that Von Hunt's doctor, who refused to be interviewed for this film, has filed numerous false reports, possibly including Silas's case.
Yet now that it has come out that that doctor has pushed a lot of false reports out, we will the family and us have decided that we want to make appeal again for that he is mentally ill.
The prosecution's argument still stands the same. We can show without a doubt that it was Von Hunt who murdered the 2 girls.
Silas's wife, Sojourner Von Hunt, assured us that her husband was incapable of any sort of bloodlust or murder.
It's just, the whole thing, it doesn't seem like Silas. He wouldn't kill somebody. He was a really gentle man. He was really nice. He was just great. I really miss him, and he's been gone for a while now, and so I just really want him to come home. And I know that Shane's been missing him a lot, and it's really hard on Shane to lose his father like this, and it's really not fair.
He was an amazing father, you know? He was always there for me. I was not the most popular kid, but he was my best friend. He was always there for me, you know?
Do you think he's guilty?
Of course not. I mean, it's just so unlike him to do anything like that. He's so kind, it doesn't make any sense.
On the other hand, Von Hunt's mother, Janet, noticed certain behavior from his childhood that would show otherwise.
The first sign that I noticed was his lack of just emotional connection to things, especially to animals. I'd see him in the backyard and he'd be hunched over a dead squirrel, even raccoons. And I mean, I was naive. I thought he was just a young boy, and that's just what boys did. I don't know. It wasn't my priority of concern at that time, I guess.
Honestly, it's just been really hard to see him in that room when we go to visit him. And it's just the worst.
When I heard of Silas's conviction, I was completely beside myself. I couldn't imagine that my son could harm something in such an immense way and have no feeling of remorse for the families, for the children.
I dropped my backpack and I rushed inside just as Silas, my father, was being carried away by the police. And he told me he loved me. That was really one of the last conversations I had with him. It wasn't even a conversation.
I don't think that any mother could prepare for the day that her son is accused of a crime. I mean, putting so much unconditional love and effort into one being and then having them turn down the wrong path is unimaginable.
You've heard from the legal team, the witness, and the family. This next interview was recorded when the first case was in action. Meet Silas Von Hunt.
Did you kill Jane Jean and Regina Swan?
Yes.
What drove you to commit these murders?
Well, I have an aptitude for poetry, and these girls that I killed also had an aptitude for poetry, so I killed them because I want no one else to succeed but me.
And he just, when he said that, he just kind of did it so flimsy and whimsical, like it was just like totally like an afterthought, like it's like, what else would I say kind of thing, and I was just kind of dumbstruck, like, what do I do now? I was like, how am I going to be in a case when a person doesn't even care about the result?
After Silas was arrested, I would go and I would play the piano a lot that Silas got for me.
I had fashioned a garret from piano wire and wood.
The only thing is, it had a key that never worked. Never got it replaced either.
Each killing started harmlessly enough. I would lure them into a secluded area on the premise of discussing my poetry.
He knew how to manipulate people.
All of these girls really seemed to like what I had to offer. So yeah, I'd do that. And then, I don't know, maybe halfway through the night, I would take the garret that I'd keep stashed in my jacket, and I'd proceed to strangle them to death, and then place their bodies in different ways.
It looked like she was intentionally placed there with her right hand over her left hand on her stomach.
And write poetry about where they lie and how they look.
That will be all.
Thank you.
The defense is now appealing for a life sentence rather than the death penalty on the grounds of mental illness.
It's like he already knew what was going to happen.